The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
C.D. Lamb, touchdown.
Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, and Kyle Youmans.
It's a Talkin' Tuesday edition of Talkin' Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company live from the Star in Frisco, Texas and the SWBC studios. We've got Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez. I'm Kyle Youmans. Chris Beam in the back. Give us a call, 888-855-2297, 888-855-2297. 97. Give us a call. We are talking to Cowboys Nation today. We will do so starting in the next segment. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Doing good. Just got finished listening to Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan.
Same.
Couple of talking points out of that.
Ooh.
Couple of things to highlight. We'll start.
Clue me in.
Do you want to start with running backs?
Are you ever clued out? I don't think you're ever clued out.
I didn't listen this morning.
Oh, well, then you're clued out.
He's clued out a little bit. we got you covered. We got you covered.
Thank
you. The one thing that, or the number one thing that I thought stuck out to me was, and it was a phenomenal question from Bobby. Bobby Belt asked it on 105.3 The Fan, and he was asking, does the significant injuries to guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Deron Bland, does that change the way that you evaluate a head coach going into his final year of the contract? Which is, I mean, that's the fact of what Mike McCarthy is facing here is his final year of his contract. And Jerry's answer was intriguing in the fact that he basically said, if anything, it helps the evaluation. It doesn't give him a pass. He said it's a part of the game as much as a kickoff is. He said there's no pass whatsoever. If anything, you either are, you aren't. We've got to move forward depending on whatever's best for this football team.
It was an interesting answer, but then my interpretation of it made it make sense because you want to, your coach is in a prove-it year, and what you don't want is to lose any of your talent to injury. You don't want that, period.
Yep.
But the sun is going to rise in the west instead of the east. He's rising in the east, sets in the west.
Yeah.
It's the latter.
Yeah, so... See, clued out. When you look at it from that capacity, it's going to happen. It's inevitable, like Thanos. And you want to see how your coach handles that level of adversity, right? And this is when you talk about injuries. Yeah, the Cowboys have had injuries before. They lost Trevon Diggs, but then they had Stephon Gilmore, who was fortuitously here, right? And that's just one example of, you lose this guy, but you got that guy. They haven't lost Micah Parsons for any period of time over the last 3 seasons, including this one, with the exception of that one game due to COVID. But now you're looking at Parsons and Tank possibly being out. You're looking at Deron Bland is not back yet, and Kalen Carson, we don't know if he's going to be on the field quite yet, so you have that kind of adversity, so forth and so on. So, I mean, you're about to find out exactly what kind of coach you have in Mike McCarthy. Not just the kind of coach you have when things are going well, right? But not just the kind of coach you have when 1 or 2 things are going wrong, but when a lot of things start going wrong on the health and injury front. How can he manage this roster? And, then the question becomes, as Jerry was asked, are the Cowboys going to look outside the building to try to bring in some guys? Now, we talked about this yesterday, and this is exactly what he ended up saying.
Yep.
Inward, and then they're going to look inward, and then they're going to look at possible practice squads and then maybe free agency and then trade being the last possible thing. It just doesn't sound like trade is on the board right now.
I think I wish they would flip the two. I think
that's what we were just talking about yesterday.
Yeah,
it's like you wish they would flip the two.
I wish they would flip it.
And at least for me, it's saying, okay, Mike McCarthy, how do you respond? He's going Pusha T on him. You know what I'm saying? How do you respond to this? And if it's not well, and you miss the next 2 games without Micah, and you lose the next 2 games without those 2, I feel like the coaching, the seat will not just be hot, but infrared. You know what I'm saying?
Infrared hot. see-through, X-ray,
Exactly.
all sorts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to fit another Pusha T reference in
No,
there.
that's good. I
But
like
it's
it.
one hand has to wash the other as well, because a coach is going to be tasked with making the current roster as great as it can be. But roster building and your willingness to go into free agency when it's time, subjectively, when it's time to go into free agency, maybe your willingness to make a trade when you have 2 star edge rushers go down, things like that. I mean, that's going to lend to what the ceiling is for the roster, for the coach that you're paying to make that roster as great as it can be. So both of those things have to work in simpatico, and that's kind of where I'm standing with it.
Well, Mike Zimmer even said it yesterday. He was talking about how important depth is to a defense, and when you lose guys like this, obviously, you're looking at it now. It's like, oh yeah, depth is important, especially when you lose your top 2 edge rushers. So now it really is about responding and how you're able to scheme the guys that you have on the team, the depth that you do have, but. Maybe to me that was a little maybe there's a little more behind that statement where he's like, depth is really important.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Yeah.
We kind of need it. My interpretation of it was he's not giving a pass, which I don't think he should give him a pass.
No.
In my own
This
opinion,
is the NFL.
This is the NFL. Injuries happen. You've got to win with what you're given, regardless or not. Especially
I
if
bet
you
Kansas
aren't
City's
the
going to win a
GM.
few games without that receiver. You know what I'm
Without
saying?
Rashee Rice, absolutely. I think they will
But you
still
know
find a way to win.
That Xavier Worthy guy. That Travis.
Well, they
Travis
also
guy.
have lost Isaiah Pacheco.
Depth.
They've lost
Oh,
Rashee
true.
Rice. They're going to be playing Taylor Swift at wide receiver before we
And they
know it.
might,
But-
and they'll probably end up making a trade to
They'll do something.
supplement the loss.
Yep.
Of
They
Rice.
will do something about it.
Yeah. So I think the pass is off the table. At least that's the way I interpreted it from Jerry Jones. But I also looked at it as, okay, this is a tough schedule. We've talked about that multiple times on this show. Steelers, Lions, 49ers, Falcons, Eagles, Texans are your next 6 games. It does not get much easier coming up over the next 2 months of football. So even without those guys, you have zero excuse going up against some of the better teams in the NFL. If you can right the ship, it gives an opportunity. It could go one way or the other. Of course, everybody's got their own expectations. But if it goes right for you, then all of a sudden I think we value this coaching staff a little bit better than what we had previously. 3 straight 12-win seasons.
Agreed.
The way that Mike McCarthy has led in the regular season, it to certain extents have been undervalued because of the lack of postseason success. But in the end of the day, that's what he was hired to do, was have postseason success. So I get the criticism there. The way that they respond without these key players over the next couple games, Steelers, Lions, 49ers, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, depending on who's missing for those games, is going to tell you a lot about how good of a coaching staff and how well-oiled this machine is.
I agree,
for the Cowboys.
because if you can win, if you're a Formula One driver, if you can win your race with your car working on firing on all cylinders, everything goes perfectly, which it rarely does in Formula One.
Yeah.
If everything goes perfectly and you as a Formula One driver can win your race, everybody's applauding because you podium, and that, as it should be, because that's
Max
extremely
Verstappen.
difficult to do, especially consistently. Right? Shouts out to Red Bull, but if you can win, if you can podium in F1 after tires keep blowing out.
Yeah.
Every 10 or 15 laps,
Or your car's not
or your car is not very good, and you're pushing that not very good car past cars that are mechanically superior to yours that particular race, then it's that much more value to your point. So if the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy can get through this stretch, and after what we saw again, now it's a week-to-week league, but the Lions.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can get past this stretch, the Steelers on the road, the Lions are coming. You're not playing well at home, and you saw what the Lions just did against the Seahawks. 18 for 18 passing for Jared Goff and a touchdown reception. Like,
That's
come
why
on,
Isaiah's not
are
here
you
today.
kidding me? If they can get through this stretch with 2 flat tires. They have 2 flat tires right now in the absence of DeMarcus Lawrence, and we'll see how long
We
that.
talking like front left, front right, back right, back left?
Not steers.
Okay.
Well, 1 steer.
Okay, 1 steer.
1 steer, 1 rear.
Oh, that's tough.
Micah is a steer.
Okay.
Right. But good news is he's still week to week, so he may only miss the Steelers
How did
game.
you do that so fast?
All
right.
Dexterity. Dexterity. So, Micah may only miss the Steelers game across all the fingers, toes, and your eyes. So you might be just without 1 tire, and then it's a matter of you go into the pit, and you start bringing out replacement tires and hope they can get you through the rest of the race. Because thankfully, it's not the entirety of the race. It's just you just got to get through these next 6 or 7 laps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I think especially after that Lions performance yesterday, I'm just not looking forward to the schedule.
I'm going to pick the Lions next week. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, that's too. That's
I don't care
tough.
if the Cowboys beat the Steelers by 40. I'm still probably picking the Lions.
Way that they're built. It's the
Yeah.
way that their offense runs, and
they are not happy with you either.
they're not happy for once. So it's a grudge match
Hey,
for
it's
one.
not our fault they didn't declare him eligible.
God, I get it.
I don't know.
I get it, but
I don't know, Jim.
I don't know, Jim.
Shouts out to Tony.
Shout out to Tony Romo, dude. It's tough, man. I just don't think that this team as is without Micah, without DeMarcus Lawrence, I just don't see how
It's just rough, man. I think I'm confident that Marshawn Kneeland will step up. And like I said yesterday, I'm not worried about Marshawn Kneeland because I don't think there's that much of a drop off from DeMarcus Lawrence to Marshawn Kneeland solely in the capacity of run stopping on the edge. I think Marshawn Kneeland has that in spades. But when you add the ability to draw double teams, when you add the ability to disrupt as far as QB pressures are concerned, even Marshawn Kneeland yesterday himself said when we were talking to him in the locker room, he said that he's trying to get better at pass rush. He was asked what aspect of his game does he feel he needs to improve upon going forward? And he was like, pass rush. I feel like I need to be able to do more there. Yeah. So
I could hear Isaiah right now. I know he's not on the show today, but I could hear him because he was so critical of Marshawn Kneeland at training camp of being a tweener. He thinks he's too big to be an edge rusher. He's too small to be a defensive tackle. And I could just hear him saying, man, there's not enough there from a pass rush standpoint for us to have any sort of confidence in the edge rushers. And to a certain extent, I agree. I think Marshawn Kneeland has the ability to edge rush. I saw it at Western Michigan. Different competition level when you get to the NFL. But even in the preseason and even in these first 4 games or so, he's shown it at times. Consistently? No, not really, but he hasn't been asked to do it consistently. So this is his opportunity to show it.
He will now. But then I think the bigger onus is on a guy like Chauncey Golston, right? Because Marshawn Kneeland, while he's being asked to step up that much more, he was already being asked to step up once Sam Williams went down. Yeah. So he's going to see more. But it was interesting to me, in speaking with Mike McCarthy yesterday, that you would think the default answer would be Marshawn Kneeland and let's see more Carl Lawson. Okay, because Carl Lawson went from 8 snaps in his first elevation to 21, 23 snaps against the New York Giants. And now you lose Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. You're like, oh, this is what you brought Carl Lawson in here for. Well, Mike McCarthy yesterday said that they're going to lean heavily on Kneeland and Chauncey Golston.
Yeah, and I don't disagree.
Which is
I've
fine.
always wanted to put Chauncey back on the edge.
And this is such an opportunity for Chauncey Golston. In so many ways, this is a contract year for him. It's
part of why they kept him on the roster.
This is about to be, if I'm not mistaken, the single biggest opportunity for more reps for him. Right?
That he's never had.
He's never had this particular opportunity where they're just going to plop him down as a potential starter and say, go eat. Right? And then rotate Lawson in with him. I thought it would be the inverse. So for as much as we're talking about the rookie second-round pick who's still getting his learning curve under him, well, Chauncey Golston, this is year 4. And I'm sure he's loving – he hates that Micah and Tank are down, but you have to love that this is your opportunity. As an athlete, you say, hey, I hate that my brothers are injured, but I have to make the most of this. Yeah. Got to make the most of it.
But what was your confidence level in Chauncey Golston going into
with my problem with Chauncey,
I'm not going to say Pittsburgh, but not to overlook Pittsburgh either, but just going forward, let's just say that.
My problem with Chauncey Golston hasn't been with Chauncey Golston. It's been with the utilization of Chauncey Golston that's prohibited me from knowing what the hell I have fully with Chauncey Golston, if that makes sense. Yeah. So because he was brought in as an edge rusher, right, entered the league as an edge rusher, then he
Good one at Iowa.
Right, then he was slid inside, right? So now he spent most of his NFL year or career, I should say, as a 3 tech and kind of mulling about there, and then they pop him out every once in a while to the 5 and things like that. But for the most part, there's so much dedicated to him at the 3. So now in training camp, they gave him some more reps at the edge for a situation such as this that might present itself. but you've not seen him full-time at the edge as a Cowboy.
No.
You've not, but you're about to. So I don't have enough of his edge ability on film with the Cowboys to say that I am confident or not confident, but that's not a knock on him. I can say that
the sample size isn't there.
Yeah, I can say that he has trended in the right direction no matter which position they've put him at, but 3 tech and 5, those are 2 different animals altogether.
What about you, Kyle?
He was drafted for this reason. I mean, 2021 draft, same draft as Micah and Osa, and they were in that 3rd round together with Nashawn Wright. There's a reason he's still on the roster. They've moved on from Nashawn Wright. They've moved on from plenty of guys out of that draft class. They kept Chauncey Golston around even without the production, even without the snap counts, and really the piece of the pie that you expected out of a 3rd round pick. And he kind of hides in the weeds because there were 3 3rd-round picks that year. And I think if it was just him that year in the 3rd round, I think he would be criticized a little bit more. However, what you're saying is correct. He's in the building, and they haven't moved on from him because he does the right things. He's done everything they've asked him to do. He's moved inside. He's moved outside. He's done whatever he can. And for this fact, he hasn't been needed at the outside of the defensive line at the edge spot because you have DeMarcus Lawrence. Micah Parsons has only missed 1 game in his career.
You had Sam Williams.
You had Sam
Dante
Williams.
Fowler. You had Dorrance.
You had all these guys stacked at the edge rusher spot, so you didn't need him. You were trying to find a way to fit him into this whole puzzle. Now you've got a piece for him in the puzzle, and it's where he should fit. And so I think there's hope there from my standpoint that he will produce. He'll have some edge rush hits. He'll be able to set the edge. He'll have some pass rush ability. Do I think he's going to be DeMarcus Lawrence? No. Do I think he holds as much weight and pressure on his shoulders as a Marshawn Nealon? No. But will he contribute? Absolutely. And I think they'll see him rotate in and out a little bit more so than you anticipate going into the week.
I think you're also going to have to get, really quickly, Josh, you're going to have to get a Maverick involved here and a guy like Tyrus Wheat. Right, so Tyrus Wheat, he's on the roster because he's done so well with special teams, right? But he's an edge rusher as well. So, what kind of contribution can a guy like Tyrus Wheat give you?
Well, yeah, and I was more so going to ask about pass rush versus run block or run defense. Like, does he have like a niche?
Chauncey?
Yeah.
He was better at run defense in college. I'm trying to remember back. I can find my scouting report. He was better as a run stopper on the edge, but his pass rush ability is minimal. It's very similar to what Marshawn Nealon has, I think. I think he's a better run stopper than he is a pass rusher. I'm going to find my scouting report on him.
And obviously the pass rush has
the last time we've seen him as a full-time edge rusher.
That's fair. And the last time well, at least the last game or the last few games, the pass rush hasn't been there, period. Like even
that's the concern.
Even with Micah, even with DeMarcus Lawrence. But the way that you're kind of building up Chauncey is like at least maybe the run defense still holds up like it did in New York.
Right. And here's where, and this is why I thought that they would lean more on the combo of Nealon and Lawson, is because while you'll lose some of that run defense with Lawson as far as setting the edge, you're theoretically gaining the pass rush over what a guy like Chauncey would give you. Because Carl Lawson, although he only had 2 pressures against the Giants, Cowboys didn't pressure, the Giants well. They didn't pressure the Ravens well, as we're talking about. But those 2 pressures occurred in 21 snaps, right? Chauncey Golston had 23 snaps, I believe, and he had 1 pressure. So, granted, that particular game is a small sample size, but when you look at the totality of their career, Carl Lawson has been a get after the quarterback kind of guy. Whereas Chauncey Golston, what has he been? We don't know because, again, he's not been – number one, he hasn't had the opportunity because the path hasn't been cleared for injury like that. But also, in saying that, it's also true that they didn't have him on the edge anyway, right? So you don't know from a pass rush perspective there. But as it stands, you have a solid edge setter for the run in Chauncey, and you have an far above average edge setter against the run in Marshawn Nealon. But from a pass rush perspective, from either one of those guys, if you roll them together in a ball, you don't have Micah. Yeah. If you roll them together in a ball from a disruption standpoint, you don't have Tank. You need a Maverick. You need another guy. It might be Tyrus Wheat. Maybe you go, like Jerry said, maybe you go poach somebody off of somebody's practice squad, whatever the case may be. But as it stands, going against the next 6 or 7 laps of this race that they have to go against, I just feel like you gotta add another tire.
I think so too.
You got to add another tire to
Pull it out of the pit.
Yeah,
get to the
pit.
paddock. Lightly recruited out of high school, outworked other higher recruits. Shocking in any regard based off of what you've seen over the last couple of years? No. Absolutely not. And this is from him in college. Became a captain and had production with at least 8.5 tackles for loss in each of the last 3 years. Could improve upon his play strength and his ability to anchor. However, when setting the edge, he's strong enough and has some length in order to push the boundaries of setting the edge. So, better run stopper than he was a pass rusher. And that's the scouting report from college last time that he's been a full-time edge rusher.
And with Mozzie coming to fruition at least in the run defense, I mean, maybe that's recipe for success.
Yeah, it's just
maybe we're not trying to set expectations here necessarily.
Sure,
but
no,
it's something to look out for.
But it goes to
what
Kyle was asking yesterday, in that what kind of pressure does this put on the linebackers? Because now you have to figure out how to generate additional pressure in the pass rush.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't run 3 linebackers. Maybe you run 3 safeties, and Donovan becomes more of your downhill, blitz package guy. When he's in, it's definitely a blitz type of thing. But see, then that becomes predictable, right? So the challenge is prevalent.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right, when we come back here on Talking Cowboys, we're taking your phone calls. 888-855-2297. 888-855-2297. A Talking Tuesday when we come back right after this.
If you're looking for fresh American roasted coffee that gives back, you need to head to your local grocery store and pick up a bag of Black Rifle coffee. That's right, America's coffee is now available in the coffee aisle of a grocery store near you. Black Rifle Coffee Company is veteran-founded with a mission to give back to those brave men and women who have served our nation. Every bag, box, or can you purchase helps support that mission. Head to your local grocery store and roast yourself some Black Rifle coffee today.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this portion of the show is brought to you by Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Quaker Oats, trusted since 1877. Welcome back in, everybody. We've got a Talking Tuesday. Give us a call, 888-855-2297. Mike in New York is our first caller on the line. Mike, what's going on, my man?
What's going on, guys? I was happy you guys got your gift on. I know you guys definitely enjoyed it. It was awesome to see, obviously, watching you guys over it and stuff. Obviously, I hope you guys obviously enjoyed it. I know it's nothing like getting something home, man. I know it's a little different and stuff, but so I know you guys obviously enjoyed that. But more to the Cowboys, I think Cowboys wish to be a little more disciplined on with the flags. I feel like it's killing us, man. It's been going on for I don't understand with all these penalties.
That's a great point, Mike. Yeah, we love the hand carved block. I mean, that was really cool. We put it back in Beamer's office. Josh has it displayed up in the desk, so that way it's close to our show every day. So we really appreciate it. Got it displayed. But let's talk about the penalties. I think that is a great point, Mike. Thanks for the call as always. The penalties are concerning, and Jerry was asked about that this morning as well, and he kind of said, he was like, we got to find a way to negate those holding calls. He's like, but other than that, I think Tyler Guyton's been he called him an excellent rookie. I think there's still more to be desired with Tyler Guyton, which is in turn leading to the holding penalties.
No, of course, and it doesn't help when Tyler Guyton's calling out the refs for not being good. Like, that's not great because now the microscope is on him.
John Gotti,
yes. I just think that at least with Tyler Guyton, we kind of knew this coming in. We knew the sample size early on. Mm-hmm. You give him some time, man. The ceiling is there. And then if you look at the Jets, you look at Tyron Smith on the Jets, like it's, I don't know, man. And I hate to say it, I don't want to be disparaging or anything like that, but he doesn't look like the same Tyron Smith.
No.
So if you'd rather have that at the cap that you're going to get hit with for Tyron Smith, as opposed to a Tyler Guyton that would have to sit this year behind Tyron Smith. I don't know, man. I'm all for taking that rookie, letting him develop on the field, getting those reps in, good or bad. I think mostly good.
Tyron allowed a sack and 2 pressures in their game against the Broncos this past week.
And what an ugly game that was. Yep. They got to get the penalties, and this is stating the obvious. Of course, they got to get the penalties in hand. I mean, you had 13 penalties for over 100 yards against the Ravens. You had
Not just Guyton.
You had, as a team, you had 11 penalties for just under 90 yards against the Giants. And keep in mind, these don't include the penalties that were declined. These are only the accepted penalties. Yeah. Okay. And the other Mike, the Mike from Dallas, spoke yesterday about what they need to learn from September going into October, and he drew a circle around penalties, and this is his quote. He said, and I quote, "We've way too many third down penalties, way too many red zone penalties, a couple of 2-minute penalties. That affects scoring. It affects the opportunity for the offense to have the ball more, and that affects the defense being on the field longer," end quote. So that is definitely a point of emphasis for the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy going into October. They just have to figure out a way to clean it up. And let's be fair, not all of those penalties are righteous, but the ones that are righteous shouldn't be happening to the frequency that they are happening. So when you talk about a guy like Tyler Guyton, and I don't want to single out Tyler Guyton, because other guys are committing penalties as well. They're, when you get false starts on a drive, and it's just like, how? You know the snap count. Okay, when you're lining up off sides, you're like, all you got to do is look.
Yeah.
Right to the
side.
Yeah, and you see where the ball is, back up.
Yeah.
Those types of small discipline things. And I think that harkens back to like what a guy like Jordan Lewis said last week before the Giants game, when he was like, details, refine your details. But if the Cowboys don't finally, and I'm with Mike from New York on this one, if they don't finally get a handle on these penalties, because it's something that's been haunting them for seasons now.
Yeah.
It's going to eventually be the thing, one of the things that continues to bite them in the back.
Well, and I feel like every year when we get to the playoffs and something does go wrong, which at least has been inevitable recently, it's usually a red flag from the season.
Yeah.
In the 2 losses to San Francisco underneath Mike McCarthy, it was penalties, it was turnovers, it was run defense, it was all these different things. Last year against
receivers getting open.
Yeah, shoot. The last year it was penalties and run defense against Green Bay. I mean, it's all these things that have kind of lingered.
Penalties have been very consistent in the Mike McCarthy era.
Yeah. Just look at it from this point. I pulled up my game chart from the Ravens. Okay, Cowboys opening drive. Right, so the Cowboys took the ball. Cowboys took the ball first on this. Cowboys opening drive. First, you get a penalty holding to Kevontae Turpin, 10 yards. Okay, you're working against yourself now. You get down the field a little bit. Penalty, 2nd and 9, holding defense. That was on the Ravens. The QB conversion by Dak Prescott on 2nd and 7. That was turned into a first down. False start on Brevin Spanford. That was the drive where you had a false start on, or a penalty on both of your tight ends, Brevin Spanford and Jake Ferguson. So I say all of that to say it's not only Tyler Guyton. It's happening across the board, even with names that you wouldn't normally hear, like a Jake Ferguson, right? So Jake didn't, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't have any penalties against the Giants. And there are ones that argue, oh, it should have been a holding. I didn't see that. It was a bang, bang play. Let's play football, right, on that touchdown. But bottom line is you can't have these types of penalties killing drives, because that drive I'm talking about, the opening Cowboys drive, you know how it resulted against the Ravens? In a punt.
Yep.
That's what happens.
Dead drive.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Lee in Dallas is on the line. Lee, what's on your mind? Thanks for calling.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
good morning.
There's been a lot of talk in this offensive line and how the struggles are, and Tyler Guyton's having a hard time, transitioning to left tackle, and Terrence Steele's having a hard time at right tackle coming back from injuries or whatever in the season. And it just feels to me, when is there a time where we start talking about and thinking, well, Tyler Guyton was a right tackle. His transition to left tackle has been a struggle. When do we start thinking about putting him back at right tackle if Terrence Steele isn't playing any better? They talk about getting the best 5 on the field. That's their priority. I think one of their best 5 linemen's on the bench in TJ Bass. You've got a guy that has spent a season at left tackle, proven that he's a great player at it, almost Pro Bowl level in Tyler Smith. And I've thought this from before the season. My starting offensive line would be Tyler Smith at left tackle, TJ Bass at left guard, Cooper Beebe at center, Zach Martin at right guard, and Tyler Guyton at right tackle.
Interesting. Okay. Lee, I appreciate the call as always. And I think he's got a point. I don't know if it's a point for 2024. And I've actually thought about this too, because Tyler Guyton was much better as a right tackle in college and what he was able to do. It's a transition period. And Josh, you pointed that out just a couple moments ago. There's going to be a learning curve. We're 4 games into this guy's career. I don't want to completely upend his future of what could be your left tackle of the future just because of a couple holding calls and a couple bad games. So not yet. I don't know if it's out of the question, though, because this is another draft class that is heavy at left tackle. You could draft again. I don't know how many times in a row they're going to have to draft a tackle in the first round of the NFL draft. You can't do that every year. But I don't think it's out of the conversation to move guys around. I just think it's out of the conversation for 2024.
I'll tell you what part of that is out of the conversation entirely for Mike McCarthy. Tyler Smith is not moving to left tackle. Tyler Smith is not moving to left tackle.
See, and I agree with that. A part of this would be adding another piece.
You're right.
Adding a left tackle to your roster. If you've got an all-pro at any of the offensive line positions, keep him there.
Correct.
Do not move.
He's an all-pro left guard.
That's the only.
Correct.
That's the only flaw.
And he may be, but I don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess with it.
He's one of the only consistent things on your offensive line. The only consistent guys on your offensive line would be Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe at the moment, and Zach Martin, which is arguable at this point. At this point in time, Tyler Smith has been the most solid player on the offensive line.
He's your best offensive lineman right now.
He is.
It's not even close.
And he's at left guard.
Yeah.
Keep him there.
Keep him there. So that for me, that's the only flaw. I see the logic and the reasoning in Lee's argument. 100%.
Absolutely.
I see it.
Best 5.
But that's the flaw. Or that's the fly in your honey there, is that they're not moving Tyler Smith to left tackle. So as far as maybe 25 and beyond, let's see, because again, this is 4 games in, and it's so early in this young man's career to write him off as not having the ability to develop and be your future at left tackle. Just as it's difficult to say, okay, 4 games in, let's write off Terrence Steele. Yeah. Let's let this thing play out. Let's let it play out. I'm open to the conversation, not with the Tyler Smith to left tackle, because no.
Yeah.
But let's let this play out, and let's have this conversation again in March.
And I don't think Lee is discounting Tyler Guyton as a player. He kept him
he's saying that
he just wants him to fit in a different way. So I don't want to put words in his mouth.
He believes that he developed better as a starting right tackle than left tackle,
which could very well be the case.
Which could be. But what I'm saying, the counterpoint is, and not that I'm disagreeing, the counterpoint is that it's only 4 games in. Yeah. So that's why I said let's let this play out. and then I'm wildly open to having the conversation, revisiting this in the offseason. After we have an entire season of
I
data.
agree. I think you need to give.
But I see where you're
time.
going, Lee. I see where you're going.
That was exactly it. And to your point about just like if you do it now, I think that's just a disservice to the entire offensive line.
The whole offensive line.
The offensive line as a whole. The chemistry that they've had, the reps that they've all had together.
That's a whole shakeup.
A lot of people would say, "Oh, this
October.
isn't Madden, right? Like this isn't Madden." I don't think this is a Madden idea. I think it's just trying to fit the pieces in the right way.
This is a reasonable discussion.
No, I like it. Good discussion, Lee. Good question. We're going to take a break. Dylan in Northport, Florida is on the other side of that break. We'll talk to him. Keep giving us the phone calls, 888-855-2297 here on this Talkin' Tuesday with more right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Patrik Walker Josh Rodriguez, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. Let's talk to Dylan in Northport, Florida. Dylan, what's going on, my friend?
Lord Dilly.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
All right. So, I saw something cool, or I guess not cool, actually kind of disturbing this morning. I was looking at...
What a swing.
this could go a lot of ways, right, if I'm going to keep it to football.
I'm scared, Dylan.
So against the Giants, Dak Prescott, I was looking at his passing chart, and only 5 out of his 27 passing attempts went for more than 10 yards, or traveled more than 10 yards. Only 2 traveled more than 15. And going into the game, Dallas faced light boxes at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. Giants utilized or presented light boxes at the highest rate. I haven't watched all 22 yet. I plan on doing that today. But my logical guess, based on the historical data and just the live watch, was that the Giants were sitting back, 2 high safeties, clogging a bunch of lanes, and people are complaining about, Brandon Cooks running pitches and all these short routes and stuff. And it's all, I think, stems from the lack of a ground game because teams are just sitting back and not allowing us to push the ball down the field, right? So until Dallas can establish a consistent running attack against light boxes and force teams to put more guys in the box, I think you're going to continue to see Dallas run these short routes.
Completely agree, Dylan. Completely agree. I think, and I've watched the All-22 from Thursday already, and a lot of too high shell, which of course Mel Kiper hates now. Apparently, did you see that? They want to ban the too high shell. I think that's so silly.
Play ball.
That's dumb.
Figure it out. Dude.
Run the football. If you want to ban the too high shell, be the Baltimore Ravens, be the Detroit Lions.
Force them into single high with an extra guy in the box.
Run the ball, and I agree. I think part of Brandon Cook's struggles has been because, one, the separation isn't there from other wide receivers. So a lot of people are saying, okay, if Jalen Tolbert, Kavontae Turpin, and all these other guys aren't getting any separation, then we've got to cover CD, we've got to cover Cooks, we've got to cover Ferguson, and we should be good because they're not going to run the ball. Right. There's no threat outside of those three guys on this offense. And right now, you can even X out number 3. You can X out Brandon Cooks in that equation because you can't run the ball. You're going to see light boxes. You're going to see hefty coverage, and it's going to be more for this team to decipher through.
And that's tough. That's tough for a guy like Dak Prescott, who is having to throw these tight window throws just to get completion.
Just to find somebody.
Just to find somebody. He's got to throw a perfect pass each and every time.
Yeah.
He's not going to have a Jared Goff-like game where he goes 18 for 18. You know what I mean? It's crazy to me that the running game is – with the running backs that you have, like, granted, we talked about it before the season started.
Yeah.
Zeke is not the same Zeke.
No.
That no question. It's not rookie Zeke. But that is a serviceable running back. Mm-hmm. The fact that we cannot get the ground game running with Zeke.
Anybody.
With anybody. It's,
so then where's Dalvin?
It's concerning. It's so what?
So then where's Dalvin?
That was going to be my next question in the Jerry Jones conversation.
Led to the forefront of your mind when you accidentally said him instead of Brandon Cook. So the question is, where's Dalvin?
Where is he?
So number one, sensational take by Dylan. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Oh, the guy knows ball.
Yeah, you got to run the ball if you want to defeat the two high safeties because you need one of those guys to drop down and make a heavier box. And if you can't run the ball, then you got to deal with that, and it's a lot of underneath. Because even the 2 touchdowns from CeeDee Lamb, there was a shot at one earlier in the season. There was miscommunication. But that aside, he took that underneath from a frozen rope through a keyhole from Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb made both of those touchdowns happen after, because that was middle deep turned into a deep touchdown. But where's Dalvin? Jerry Jones this morning on 105.3 The Fan said, quote unquote, probably not this week for Dalvin Cook. Last week it wasn't because it was not going to happen because, per Jerry Jones, short week. The week before is because small sample size with Zeke and Rico and Deuce, and they're still trying to figure some things out. Well, now you're going into a long week. You got 4 games in, and Mike McCarthy himself said yesterday, you know who you are after 4 weeks. Okay. Well, if you know who you are after 4 weeks, then you know that you might need some kind of juice injected into the rushing attack.
You're bad at running the football.
Yeah,
that's
Jerry,
who you
Jerry
are.
said it's not. It's for those that are asking. Jerry said it's not a physical thing with Dalvin Cook. They said he looks good, and I can attest to this in the aspect of those that I've spoken with, coaches and other players. They are saying the same thing. They're saying Dalvin Cook looks good. They're saying his feet are quick. They're saying he looks great out there in practice. So then that just again begs the question: where is Dalvin Cook, and when, if ever this season, when do you elevate him?
Jerry's answer today, and like you said, he gave some reasoning behind it. He was talking about looking at the season as a whole, and we haven't run the football a whole lot the last couple of weeks, which is to a certain extent true. I mean, Rico Dowdle was utilized more than anybody this past Thursday, and Zeke only saw 10 offensive snaps. 10.
Rico's looking better and better.
Rico looks fine. Honestly, I think Rico is your RB1 right now,
He's
but
looking
that's a
better
separate
and better.
conversation. Right now. That's a separate conversation. But Dalvin Cook specifically, they said, we want to utilize him when we're going to utilize him best because he's coming off of the practice squad. You can elevate these guys only so many times. Do you feel like that plays any factor into it? Because I feel like if you wanted to just elevate the guy and he plays well, good. Sign him. If he doesn't play well, then maybe you push him back to the practice squad. And you kind of push it down the line. I don't know if delaying his first call-up is enough to say, let's not utilize him yet.
I think the bigger issue is, you remember we had this conversation, Isaiah included. You bring up Dalvin Cook, and who is made inactive?
I mean, he only had 10 offensive snaps. I would say Zeke.
You would say Zeke.
I would absolutely say Zeke.
Based on how they're using Zeke, you would think so.
Yeah.
But do you realistically think they're going to make Zeke inactive?
Probably not.
And for me, that's where Dalvin Cook.
But that's the thing.
Because if you bring up Dalvin Cook, but you don't want to make Zeke inactive, and with this, Rico's not in this conversation because Rico is continuing to improve as the
RB1 right now. Yeah.
So this is for me. It's a Dalvin Cook versus Rico versus Deuce.
Yeah.
question because Hunter Lipke, he's not in the conversation either. He's finally getting more utilization. So the question becomes, if you bring up Dalvin Cook, are you making Deuce inactive for that game, which is
probably
supposed to be your change of pace back, or is it Zeke, which creates a redundancy because Zeke and Dalvin Cook are more or less the same guy?
I mean, to your point, I'd love to see Hunter Lipke with actual RB1 carries. Like, I would love to see him take those snaps.
Also another conversation. He's been great.
It's totally separate, but it's like, what does he look like running the football? Because as far as like utility backs, I think he has everything that you're really looking for right now. He can push a pile, and he's also catching out of the backfield, and he's pass blocking.
Yeah. It's not out of the question to say Hunter Lipke is your third most effective player on offense right now, behind CD and Jake Ferguson. Name a guy other than Lipke who's had maybe not the stats, but I'm talking about effectiveness.
I think it's Rico. I think it's Rico. And the reason I say I think it's Rico is because
that may be a debate, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's more production, but also it's commensurate with more opportunities.
Yeah.
So if
Lipke gets those opportunities,
if you
he's
correlate
just
it
as
that
effective.
way and you say it's per opportunity, now you're talking efficiency. Per opportunity, is Hunter
That was
Lipke
my
more
question,
efficient?
though.
Yeah.
third most efficient player on
then,
offense.
I can
Not
agree with
productive,
that.
because he hasn't had the
agree with
touches.
that.
But third most efficient player on offense, I
agree.
think it's Hunter Lipke.
I can agree with that.
Totally agree.
So when it comes to Dalvin Cook, I think there needs to be a conversation. I think there needs to be an added emphasis to try and shake up the running back room. Whatever you're doing right now isn't working. It's not working running the football. Try something different. Try it out. See what happens.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work
On a
out like
long
you
week-
said, he drops back to the practice squad and
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, no harm, no foul. You figure it out for the following week.
We'll see. It's not going to happen this week, apparently. Doesn't look to be the case. All right, that's going to do it for us here on Talking Cowboys. Hope you had some fun with us. Tomorrow we will have the whole crew back in the building. We're going to have Isaiah Stanback back, and we will get you started on the preview of this matchup with the Steelers. What a historic rivalry this is.
Oh, my God.
11 Lombardi trophies.
Oh,
yeah.
You know.
Got a lot going on. And
those battles in the 70s, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
70s,
man.
90s, relevant.
I remember those in
the
the
last
70s. I really
do. Like yesterday, dude.
Yeah.
Every matchup since the turn of the century has been a one-score game.
Fantastic.
Every single matchup. They don't play it a whole lot, but every single game has been a one-score affair.
Cardiac.
I think you could see the exact same thing happening on Sunday. But tomorrow we're going to preview the Dallas defensive matchup going up against Justin Fields or Russell Wilson at quarterback with George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, and a couple of these other guys on the offense. A couple flat tires. See how they adjust in doing so. For Chris Beam, Josh Rodriguez, Patrik "No-See" Walker, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from Talking Cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this,